What is good? We're back. Got a nice little tripod for your pleasure. We're going to hit you with a Superflex tight end premium rookie mock, of course, for your pleasure. Usually they're done beforehand. This time we figured let's do it while we're live on air. That way we can be talking about these picks. This is all so new to everybody. The fun thing is we've just got new information. So this board is going to change a few times. It's not, by the time we were done with it last time, there wasn't that much jockeying that would kind of go on, right? Now I feel like even into by the time we get to next week, another rookie mock could be vastly different from once everybody settles in and hears everybody's takes, and you get a little bit more court of public opinion as well. So excited to bust this one out here. Gonna try to get through 4 rounds. Not sure if we'll make it or not. We got my man Chev. What's up, man?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of dirt's a good one. Cam Ward's home, baby.
Cam Ward is home. You got a New Jersey up there. Look at you.
Yeah, that's the old water boy. Apparently, I lost all of my jerseys, like my All-Star jersey from high school, all that shit. Just lost somewhere.
What'd you say? All-Star from high school?
Yeah.
Nice way to slip it in. Just a little paddle.
Well, that's the one I care the most about. Okay, so there's 2 that I care about. I have my first jersey that I ever wore, like my Pee Wee jersey, and then I have that jersey, and I have I got a couple college jerseys, but I care most about that one because
throw that out there too,
yeah,
like that.
Like I care about that one the absolute most. Like, and I have no fucking idea where it is.
Your high school All-Star jersey.
Yeah, I mean, if you got it, why not? Like, I'm putting jerseys up. Why would I not put my jersey up?
Put your own jersey up, bro.
Your mama definitely didn't lose it. She
shipped it to me 4 years ago.
Yeah. It's in an attic. It's in an attic in the other house.
Bro, I promise you, I'd break into that house to get it. Actually, I could probably just knock on the door and ask for it.
Yeah.
But
probably should start there.
Probably should. See, this is how upset I am. I'm just
you're not
even sound process. Like, you know what I should do? I should scale their roof, climb in through the chimney, then make my way.
Santa Claus, this bitch.
You know what I'm saying? My big ass doesn't need to be climbing up chimneys.
I don't like a former defensive lineman's chances of scaling roofs.
See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
See, but that's
maybe
how
Brian
bad
Burns,
I want my fucking jersey back.
Man.
All right, let's get it rolling.
Right. I got, of course, Big Co over here with me in studio. We're gonna go kind of alternating picks. I'm gonna take the 101. I'm taking Jeanty. We're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on that. If you don't think Genty's the 101 still, you go call your psychiatrist and schedule a meeting. So
yeah, the 1-2's on the clock.
All right, 1-2, and I mean we're gonna give it to Chev. He's got the Titans gear on. Do you go War Daddy Ward here, or do we taking Omarion Hampton? Are we going Tetairoa? What do we got?
I've got to stay true to the process. I wanted to take Omarion here, but I've been so excited about Cam Ward that I can't pass up the chance to take Cam Ward right here. Franchise quarterback, insulated value, all that, blah, 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 all the technical terms. I'm taking Cam Ward.
How you feel about that?
As we've come through the process and as I'm catching up, I'm liking Cam Ward more and more. Maybe doesn't have that true like top 5 quarterback upside, but what we really need to do is not mess it up. And for the last couple years, I've been in here talking about the rookie quarterbacks and how you really need to pay attention through and through and not mess that pick up. Well, Cam Ward just seems like you're not really messing it up, right? It just it feels good. He everything. Just if you're not familiar, changed schools 3 times. It was a step up every time. The production is off. Yeah, you could say he was there he had a lot of starts, but a lot of people go to college for 7 years. But he's got the most touchdown passes in college history, right? So you got the production is there. You got the draft capital, obviously 1-1. There's not a whole lot of tools for him to work with this year. So it's not like the Titans are crushing it on the offensive side of we're just going to ignore the earthquake that's going on outside this door right here.
Yeah, hang on. Sorry.
We got kids outside banging on the door, Chef.
Hey, it'd be like that sometimes. My wife's home, so she will rain fire and brimstone if my kids did that shit while I was recording.
Sold out. I like that. She's dedicated with you.
Yeah, dude. That's the
I
only
thought
way.
it was
that
a
I'm
dog
able
at
to-
first. It was just a little nip, and then it was banging.
Yeah.
In case he couldn't hold it together. I tried. I only skipped like a half a breath before I was trying to get back in there. Golly, I got no idea.
Yeah.
I think Cam Ward is stable of a rookie quarterback that we could be looking for this year. You know, like previous in the process was like, oh, well, do we have this? Do we have that? Cam Ward crushed it. He did what he was supposed to do. He's about as good as of an interview as you could get. And that's really what you're looking for, that sold out. I'm all about it. You know, and that's whole complete regime change over there in Tennessee. Kind of starts new with Cam Ward, and in Superflex, like the value of the quarterback. I don't mind it. If Cam Ward goes 1-5 in your Superflex rookie draft, that's okay. If you want to take him, if you need a quarterback, I'm not interested in reaching. He doesn't feel like a reach right here at 1-2. There's guaranteed there's some guaranteed production around him with a couple of other players that we're going to talk to about it here in just a few minutes. But I feel like Cam Ward is a solid pick, and you could 1-2 to 1-5. It's wherever you feel like he's in there for you. I don't have a problem if he's the 1-2 there, Shep.
Yeah. As long as we can get this offensive line to at least give him a chance, right? Which you've made some strides at. You brought in 2 free agents, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah. Yep. And you spent some capital on one last year.
J.C. Latham. Yep.
Right. So
he's going back to right tackle.
Right. So hopefully if that can be just a baseline, just be middle of the pack offensive line, that's better. And Cam can survive a little bit. Right. Yeah. He can survive a little bit. What I think the best thing he has going for him is what Corey said there. Like, he seems like he's all about it and he's locked in. So that's number 1. But then the close number 2, especially fantasy-wise, pretty much only fantasy-wise, is he's going to make the highlight plays. So the public for fantasy is going to see a lot of Cam Ward because he makes some wow fucking plays. He makes magic, right? We were talking about in the group chat, like Purdy or Ward. And like, I think it's Purdy for me still. But
yes,
the public is going to go Ward, and Ward's going to have Purdy's never making highlight plays, right? That's just not really how he operates, right? But what Ward, that I think is really going to lean heavily in some value of Cam Ward moving forward. So,
well, Purdy's proven he's an NFL quarterback, and the floor there is very, very solid. Obviously,
and then he started running a little more, and now.
Well, he had to last year, but Purdy's guaranteed a quarter. That's, if you pick Purdy in your startup draft, you didn't pick a player who's going to be out of the league next year. He's too good at anticipating and reading defenses. So the thing about Ward is, I don't want to cut. If you're about to crank up on Ward, I know we need to get moving, but he's been through the fire. He had to work his way up. Went to his first college. I couldn't even call the name. It was
Incarnate Word.
Never heard of it. So like, it's not even a bad.
I thought that was his high school.
Right. I thought that was like a prep school or like I didn't know what that was the first time I heard it. So there you go. That's where he started, 0-star recruit, finished as a Heisman candidate in the 1-1, right? Obviously he's not the best player in the NFL draft, most likely, but that's what happens with quarterbacks. He's not, a better football player than 2 or 3 or 4 of those guys, but he's if he's a quarterback. So there he is up there at the first pick. That's what happens when you pick in 1-1. You most likely don't have a good quarterback. So he's good, and I don't need the big splash plays. All we need, like if you 18, 16.
I don't either, but I'm
16,
saying
18 points a game out of in a super flex. Like he doesn't have to be the best quarterback on my team. I just need 2 of them, and I really need 3 of them. What happens when that second one gets hurt? What happens if the first one gets hurt? And that's the show we got coming out here. I was working on that last night in the super flex value of quarterbacks and what, where, and why and how. So we can keep it moving. I like your pick there at Cam Ward. This time last year, I was against taking the quarterbacks over the neighbors and stuff like that in the second and third picks because I wanted to guarantee safety there of that asset allocation. When you take that pick at 1-2, what you did not do was trade back to 1-3, 1-4, 1-5 and get more, and then increase your odds of your roster having more depth or more of another quality player. When you put your chips in on Cam Ward at 1-2, you're putting your chips in. So, but I'm getting on board. I'm getting on board and happy to do it.
The one thing I would say before we moved on would just be, as far as Casey alluded to it, the highlight plays, like, so having him at quarterback, it feels like, in a Purdy versus Ward argument, Ward gives your offense an artificial higher ceiling because he can make the magician type plays, keep stuff alive, make your defense have to play defense for 6 or 7 or 8 seconds, and then find somebody that's wide open, that's broken on a broken play. So that's part of the magic. That's why I'm a little bit higher on him. He's not super mobile. He's not going to give you much rushing. I firmly expect Jackson Dart, when he starts, to have a much higher rushing floor, but he gives you the same thing like Baker Mayfield tries to do. Like, we just saw him do a bunch of off-schedule stuff and end up with 41 touchdowns. And everybody says Mahomes, Rodgers, like, they keep the play alive. I'm not comparing him to them as a talent. I'm saying that they extend plays, and that's part of what you get in the Cam Ward experience.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's go to 103. Corey, you're on the clock. What are you doing? We going running back, wide receiver, tight end? I don't think quarterback. We don't have another quarterback here. I don't think, for a minute.
QBs are out of play. This is the beauty of the middle of the first round right here. And obviously we're still on one end of it. We're at 1-3. But if you have a 3 wide receiver league and you need to lean towards Tet, you can lean towards Tet. If you have a half PPR league and you need to lean towards Hampton or another run, you can lean towards that. If you have a higher tight end premium, you can start leaning towards tight ends. You got options right here. For the practice of this exercise, I took Treveyon Henderson at 1-3. I have no problem taking Tet. I have no problem taking Hampton. I think Hampton's going to be a big time, like 1-2 kind of guy. That Hampton was chalk 1-2, and he goes to the Chargers in the first round. So how are you chalk the second pick in the Superflex ADP, and then you get first round draft capital to a Jim Harbaugh team and fall down the board? So Hampton's going to be there, right? So that's what I was talking about with the Ward and the options. So you got no problem. I got no problem if you want to take Hampton there. I got no problem if you want to take a tight end there. If it's tight end, tight end premium 1.5, that's okay. When you get up to 2 points every time a tight end catches the ball, now you need to be up here. And Tet, it's the only reason I took Treveyon Henderson, because the explosiveness.
You like Treveyon Henderson, dude. Nobody's going to argue with you about that.
Well, I'm happy with it. It's just like the Tet. Like, my thing on the Tet thing is just there's wide receivers to be had.
Correct.
Right? And there are running backs to be had now. And I've talked about that for months, and we talked about on this show, trade up early and trade back late. Like, there's lots of options here. This whole first round and halfway through second round is about to be ridiculously fun. I took Treveyon Henderson. I love the idea of what the Patriots had. There was a handful of teams in the draft that just came in there and they just showed that they had a good plan, right? The Patriots were one of them. The Bengals understood the assignment. They went defense and trenches. The Panthers took a stud wide receiver to help out their quarterback who really needed it, and then took 2 pass rushers in a row and went back to a running back in a Dave Canales offense because their guy got hurt. Broncos crushed it. Chargers crushed it, right? Like, a lot of teams went in there and handled it. Patriots, offensive tackle to protect the quarterback. Second pick, Treveyon Henderson. When is the last time the Patriots had anybody that was fun to watch? Last year, they had Drake May. Outside of Drake May, it was boring, and they weren't stretching the field. They weren't making anybody scared. They had a bunch of wide receiver 4s running around. So you got your boy Kyle Williams coming over there. Second, they protect the quarterback with their first pick. They get a running back who's completely across the board lauded as the best pass protecting running back in the draft class. Oh yeah, he's also like one of the most exciting and breakaway and long play kind of guy. So Treveyon Henderson, to me, and the Patriots, and an up and coming, like, this is Vrabel's situation now. Like, Todd McShay says the Patriots have 3 best assets, and in the order were Drake May, Vrabel, and then Christian Gonzalez, cornerback. Right? Mm-hmm. To him, Vrabel is the second most important player on their team. Just the coach, the culture, the leader. This is what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And Henderson is the pick that they make early in the second round. They got nobody else on offense that can compare to his abilities. And why wouldn't they be able to use him early and often? Maybe I understand. Maybe he doesn't get some goal line, like first and goal from the 1. Sure, Stevenson could come in there and pound it in. That's fine. In a PPR league, Henderson could catch a ton of balls, and he could Drake May's going to stress the defense with his legs, and Henderson's going to give the defense something to worry about. They got to fill out the wide receiver room, and they got to fill out some offense. They can't rebuild a whole team in one draft. But the fact that Henderson was the pick, and they didn't go D-line and this and take a 4th round running back, which they could have, and they could have come up. Scatterbo in the 4th round would have been fine. Like they had plenty of options, and Henderson was the one they decided to go with. Love it.
Yeah. I've been a big fan of Henderson. I like the move here by them. I think early on you'll probably see plenty of Ramondre and Treveyon. I think Treveyon's role, especially first year in the league, kind of figuring things out, not putting a whole bunch of stress on the body, is good. Hey, let Treveyon work in space outside, throw it to him, outside runs, get Ramondre in here, get some inside runs. And as long as a leash as Ramondre is going to have is the fumbling. Fumbling comes in, you're going to see more and more Treveyon, because what Treveyon hasn't done historically is fumble. So I think that's kind of how that, either it stays as a timeshare and it moves forward and it really works. And I think it can work. And Ramondre is actually a pretty good receiver as well.
Sure.
But as I think it stays that way until Ramondre gives them a reason to say, hey, you're costing us possessions, you're costing us opportunities. We're going to go full on with Treveyon. Could be wrong there, but again, what we always liked about Treveyon is if he was the workhorse, great, and if he wasn't, he still can be a huge fantasy upside swing. I'm not saying he's Gibbs by any means, but Gibbs, maybe we weren't getting full on everything we could get from Gibbs,
right?
But Gibbs has been fantastic throughout his career so far when sharing a backfield with Montgomery.
Gibbs was awesome before Montgomery got hurt. Now, is this the ecosystem? Is the team built out? No, Vrabel is 4 years behind Dan Campbell right now. Dan Campbell's been in there. It worked. And what the Lions did, and what you said on another show recently, Chev, about the coaching tree and the coaching philosophy of the Dan Campbell trickle down, like Vrabel was cut from the same exact cloth, right? So it's the same exact idea. Vrabel had success in Tennessee. For a long time, he was a very well-respected coach, even when they were winning despite lack of talent. They had a couple of good defenders, and they were just holding on because Vrabel was a glue. I mean, true freshman Treveyon Henderson puts up 1,500 total yards and carried 183 times for Ohio State as a true freshman, and he just did nothing but be awesome his entire tenure. Last year, he had some help. He had a little split with Judkins, and so he averaged 7.1 yards a touch. And, a Chip Kelly offense. But Josh McDaniels, there'll be X's and O's for you can't obviously if what's the other running back's name that we're just talking about here? If Ramondre comes out and he's on a heater, let's say he had the best offseason of his life and he took care of himself and he ate right and this and that, if he comes out and he's killing it, great. But there's a very short list of good players on this team, and Treveyon Henderson's on it. So your best players on the field, right? This guy's going to be on the field. If not early and often, it will be often soon enough. And if he gives us the Gibbs treatment for the first 6 weeks of the season like Gibbs did in his rookie year, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with that taking him at 1-3.
Without a question. I mean, this is a slam dunk pick. You guys kind of hit it over the head. We don't have to spend too much time here. I do like the pick, even though, it leaves a couple guys on the board that have a little bit more crystallized of a role day one, sure, without some questions.
Yeah.
Love that part. There's 1-2. There's people that are value worthy of the 1-2 through the 1-5.
Correct.
Yeah. No, we've got a great first half of the first round that is fairly interchangeable. Some people will be a hard ass and say, no, but I could see it going a whole bunch of different ways. But I'm not upset at all about Treveyon Henderson there. I'm back up at 4. There's a toss-up between Hampton and McMillan. I mean, for me, I know that I love Kaleb Johnson. So Kaleb Johnson, for me, I have no change in my running back rankings in the top 5 running backs, right? Everybody got good capital for the most part that were that top 5, and everybody got pretty solid landing spots that you're pretty excited about, right? Mm-hmm. Judkins goes to Cleveland. But quarterback situation's a little up in the air. Treveyon goes to New England, one of the best players on the roster immediately. You have Omarion Hampton going over to LA, and that was kind of a Mach 2 situation and a hand and glove fit to kind of what they want to do. You got Najee for a year to deal with, and I know some people think he's going to blow right past him, but Najee's a professional, Bo, and
Najee's a really good
Najee's exactly what Harbaugh wants to do, and I could see Najee being the running back there for another 2-3 years after this. And Najee is the perfect person to be with Omarion Hampton to start this season off, and his career off. So
if one of them gets hurt,
right,
not the 15 touchdowns we talked about the day after free agency when Najee got signed, like it's 15-20, Jamal Williams, anybody, right? Like it's in a way better offense. It's going to take you to the first and goal way more often.
Yeah.
And if Najee goes down, which he's never done, then Hampton could be a bell cow with no problem. But there's no reason. Yes, you can turn on some highlight tapes, and Hampton definitely has a little more juice. But like to what Casey's saying here, like Najee is probably at this point like second cousins with Harbaugh, right? Like them boys they're probably going to, if they're not family already, give them 3 weeks in the same training camp together, and they're going to be family. Like they were built for each other. And Hampton is it's a scheme fit, and it's like it's another same thing, right? It's a little bit better. Your second car, your weekend car is a little bit nicer than your family car, but they're about the same idea, right? Najee and Hampton on the same team, got no problem with that.
The issue here is there's no issue. There's 463 carries to go around. So no matter how you divvy that up, that means that, they ran the ball 463 times last year.
Go up, stay on the field, more first downs, more rushing attempts.
So I think that if you take Hampton here, I have zero issues with it. He's going to have a role day one. Harbaugh doesn't waste first round picks on people. So we know that he's going to have usage. What that usage is he going to be the goal line back? We don't know that yet. I think his skill set probably lends itself to being more versatile than Najee, but also even if it's not, you're looking at him as a 220 carry guy at worst case, in my opinion. And with that offensive line being as solidified as it is, 2 first round picks in Zion Johnson, and then Joe Alt last year. You got Slater over there who's been an all-pro and stoned some of the best pass rushers that we know of. And that's just how they like to play football. And there's another guy that we're probably not going to get to in this that's just a sleeper to me in all this that nobody's really talking about in Oronde Gadsden. But I love what the ceiling of this offense is, adding guys like Omarion Hampton early. And then I love everything that they did in the draft.
Yeah. So same.
But
you got Trey Harris out there now. You got
But to your point about this pick right here, I really, really like what you're going to Omarion Hampton, correct? did you announce it?
I haven't taken anybody yet.
Okay. But we've all just spent, so now you have to do it.
Well, I think I'm going to take Tetairoa McMillan. He can do what he wants. Yeah.
That's funny as shit.
What I was driving towards is that like Kaleb Johnson for me is still my RB2. The landing spot is great. It's Pittsburgh. I don't, he went around later, but I don't care. It's day 2 capital in a really good situation where it is wide open for him to just be the guy. Warren can come in there. Warren can seed some things here and there. Warren had opportunities last year to really take something over. Warren's a good player. It's nothing to do with Warren, but Kaleb Johnson fits exactly the Pittsburgh MO and what he is. He's already looks good in black and gold. You bring him in. Iowa just feels like Pittsburgh playing in college. What I mean? And you get him with Arthur Smith, and who has had Derrick Henry on the team. And not that those guys are the same. I'm just saying he's a bigger athletic back. That's just kind of figuring out how to use that physicality. So what I'm saying here is like, I like Kaleb Johnson here, but I know I don't have to take Kaleb Johnson here.
Exactly.
So I can move back, and I don't need to put Kaleb Johnson on the board and get everybody all fired up here. I like Kaleb Johnson. For me personally, I'm going to take Tet McMillan here. I feel like you just got a target vacuum in Carolina. I trust Canales. I liked where Bryce was going last year. It's just, I could go Hampton, not have a problem with it. I'm sure everybody's screaming that you got to take Hampton here. where he's the solidified 102 and we're at 105 and he hadn't come up the board. People are probably like, I'm turning this off. And it's like, look, man, this is also interchangeable through these first 7, 8, 9 picks. And look, Tyler Warren easily could have been a pick here for me. And, or Loveland. Both of those guys, though, just end up in situations that aren't the best for one reason or another. Like, we like what Loveland can be, but we just saw in Detroit that each week a lot of those guys were good, but like you weren't getting everything you wanted out of Sam Laporta. You weren't getting everything you wanted out of Jameson Williams.
You couldn't with 5 or 6.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome for Loveland.
It's the 5 eligibles.
Right.
So last year, the Detroit Lions had the 5 eligibles and they crushed it, and 6 because Monty and this and that. So like they had the 5 eligibles, and Tim, the guy that got hurt, Tim Patrick, he was in there two touchdown games. Like they had it spread out wide open. And you can't maximize anybody like that.
Right.
But you can have ridiculously good floors, and then you're ceiling weeks from player to player. Yeah. St. Brown would have 31 week, and then it was this guy, and then it was this guy. And it was, 1 week, all the guys had a receiving touchdown, and Jared Goff had 4 or 5 passing touchdowns.
Right.
But let me hit 2 things real quick before we keep going, because you said a lot right there, and that's good considering you had a wedding weekend and you're not all there, but that was really good. So to Casey's point, if you feel like this is not chalk enough and you should turn this off, is exactly why you should not turn this off right now. Because there will be no echo chamber on this show. There's never been an echo chamber on this show, and there will not ever be one. We are trying to talk through the process and figure out how it works. And Dynasty is fluid, and you cannot perfect it. That's why it's fun. If it was perfectible, I wouldn't be here. I got way too much going on. This is fun. So, Tet McMillan, top 10 draft capital. If you're screaming that it needs to be a Hampton, like you got to understand, like if that's, then trade back. And Casey loves Kaleb Johnson, right? But you can't, and he can still have him as his RB2. Hampton gets 116 draft capital in the middle of the first round. Yeah, Kaleb Johnson goes early enough into third. That's not the same. And Casey doesn't come in here and go clickbait and throw Kaleb Johnson up at the 1-4. He just talked through that with you. Like this, Caleb's his guy. He understands. Kaleb Johnson is not getting drafted in front of a Hampton in any draft. Maybe there's a Steelers like diehard that might one draft somebody might take Kaleb over Hampton. If that's your pick, you trade back a little bit. That's just where we are with this. All right, so Tet, vacuum hog coming up. Love that. Production, draft capital. You don't have to project. There was some fatigue because he was like the 1-1 last year. This time last year, it was wait till Tet comes out because he's big and he's awesome and he runs like a gazelle and he's got 1,400 yards. And to me, some of the down season this year, or he still had 1,400 yards. Like if I know I'm about to be a top 10 draft pick, I'm not catching all those balls over the middle every time because
especially when my team sucks.
It's a business decision. Like I didn't say and Jamar Chase skipped a whole year of college, y'all. Right? Let's call it what it is. If you want to say that Tet didn't finish a play or two over the middle when he could have got cleaned up, my man just got picked in the first round. He's going to get guaranteed millions of dollars here. I've never guaranteed millions of dollars in my entire life. How am I going to judge a guy because he didn't catch it and pull it in while that strong safety was bearing down on him in college? Yeah, I know these days are different. He's getting paid in NIL, but you see, so just give the guy a break. If the Panthers pick up on that upward trajectory, this is fantastic.
Yeah. And we have another running back added into the mix for a lot of people. RJ Harvey is now in the rotation with a lot of these running backs, right? Everybody, we've got one more added to the scale to make this even more fun through 9 picks, essentially, almost. So, Chev, who are you going to take here at 105?
You know the answer to this question. It's Omarion Hampton. We just spent like 10 minutes talking about Omarion Hampton. If you want to hear about Omarion Hampton, hit the rewind button for everything that I said there, and then we can, let's get to the 1-6.
All right, Big Co, you're up at 106. Judkins on the board. We got Tyler Warren on the board. We got RJ Harvey, Kaleb Johnson, Travis Hunter. Where's he come into play here with high capital? And the Jags saying that we're going to go heavy receiver here, not a lot of pass catching options over there in Jacksonville. So how does this 106 break down?
Man, this is tough. I mean, I was supposed to be building my board out, but during this conversation, this is the teeth of that 1-5 right there was so fun. I couldn't even pull my nose out of that conversation. Judkins is definitely somebody I got to look at. The upside for the Colston Loveland position puts me looking at him. Kaleb Johnson, of course. I wouldn't be upset with myself for taking Travis Hunter here and putting him on the bottom of my bench and waiting for this thing to pan out and his abilities. The Judkins part of it for me, I don't think I'm ready to plan it right there on Judkins just because the Cleveland Browns are still the Browns. And you can
Chubb's been good.
Judkins got a ways to go before he's Nick Chubb. He's got to show me something. Nick Chubb, I'm not gonna. It's great. It's a great 1-for-2 swap comparison, whatever you want to call it. It's a great next in line potential situation for the Browns. Good for the Browns. I think it was a great pick, and I love the idea of Judkins. But for me to say he's just going to step in that Nick Chubb role, you might step in Nick Chubb's footprints and figure out his foot's a lot bigger than you thought it was.
I mean, so the thing there.
Give me some advice here. Give me some advice here.
Well, the reason that I'm so high on Quinshon Judkins is that is my almost 1-to-1 comp. You look at what he did in the SEC, you look at what his athletic profile is, you watch him run the football, and it's like, I can see a world where, I mean, obviously Nick Chubb's athletic profile doesn't really tell you that he's just one of the most smooth runners that you've ever seen. And, he's super explosive, and to go along with the fact that he's incredible at breaking tackles. And, all the analytics nerds will say, well, his missed tackles force per attempt and yards after contact per attempt were terrible. Like, watch him, just turn the tape on, watch him play football. This year at Ohio State was not his best because he is a volume back. He needs that volume. But I love Quinshon Judkins. I wouldn't be mad if you went somewhere else here because we are assuming tight end premium. If you wanted to go Colston Loveland, if you wanted to go Tyler Warren, I wouldn't be upset here. Hell, if you even wanted to reach, if you love Luther Burden, like somebody on this show does.
Mm-hmm. You ready for me to make my pick? Yeah. I needed that advice. It's RJ Harvey. It's RJ Harvey.
Just when you said you weren't going to do any clickbait on this show.
That's not clickbait.
I'm just kidding.
That's not clickbait. The beauty of this show, Chev, and I'm so glad you're here with us, is that we've been doing this for almost 10 years. And I did have a little semi-retirement and I have a little comeback party here. But years ago, when my man Alvin Kamara got drafted, and you could go and you could take RJ Harvey's profile and you could start picking at it and you could start knitting at it and all that fun stuff. Alvin Kamara didn't have much of a production profile coming out of Tennessee. Barely broke over 100 carries those 2 years in a row. Tennessee didn't know what they had. They didn't use them right, whatever. Sean Payton, and I said it on this show, it was called Married to the Game back then. Sean Payton traded a second-round pick next year for the chance to draft Alvin Kamara. And I've been talking about Sean Payton's running back pick coming up. I said that I would be shocked if the Chargers, but definitely shocked if the Broncos made it through 2 rounds without getting a running back. And it was RJ Harvey. Sean Payton has made his decision, and he picked RJ Harvey. And that's enough for me. There's the plays that he picked, the reason he decided to pick RJ Harvey, he's going to come out and tell us. He's 24 years old. Not a problem for me. We talk about 3-year windows. We talk about this. We talk about that. The man, he's coming in his old man strength, right? You want to give me a 20-year-old running back? That's great. That's fine. He might not be but this guy is Sean Payton's guy. Nobody knew, not many people knew much about Alvin Kamara when he came out. 4 straight years, 80-something catches, right?
81.
And
yep.
81. 3 straight years, 81, and the 4th year it was over 80. So, the game has been played. I guarantee you that Peyton was looking at things in the first round, and he's like, I can do this and I can do this. But then the stud corner fell to him, and they put strength on strength. One of the best defenses in the NFL took a stud corner in the first, and I loved it. Even when it happened, I was waiting for the running back to be called out, and they took the corner, and I loved it. And then he comes through, and he chooses RJ Harvey in the second round. There was no chance he was taking a chance on missing him. He wanted his guy. If that's his guy, that's my guy.
Yeah, I think everybody was clamoring for basically whoever is that Denver running back. Even as far as the estimates and Jaleel McLaughlin's and all those guys last year, kind of a little hubbub because there was some opportunity there. Javonte, caught a million balls last year, didn't do a whole lot with it, but we all liked RJ Harvey over here quite a bit. It was the age and exactly where the NFL was going to land on him, and the capital's good, the landing spot's good. So yeah, I can't argue with you too much there. I would take Kaleb, but again,
I mean, I'm playing
Yeah.
PPR, maybe zero PPR, maybe straight up just yards and touchdowns. I can get on that with Kaleb. I have no problem. I could take Judkins and Kaleb Johnson over him in a no PPR format. I got buddies that text me every Sunday morning about
if we're playing non PPR, you're probably using a safe word on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine. If that's what you want to play, I don't want to alienate you by saying you're dumb. That's fine.
I didn't say you were dumb. I said you just had some interesting life choices. I didn't say anybody was dumb.
Right. So the RJ Harvey for me, I said it a couple weeks ago. We didn't know it was going to be. If it's going to be RJ Harvey or Scotabo, or if it's going to be Dylan Sampson was a name that we used. DJ Giddens, Devin Neal. We didn't know which one of those guys was going to be the riser, but I was ready for it. And I didn't think that those 4 or 5 best running backs were going to go to those 4 or 5 best running back positions. And there was a couple good running back positions that did take on the good running backs. And then the PPR, I got a plan. I know what I'm doing. And when I put my foot down, this is where I want to go. Sean Payton guy, that his decision was RJ Harvey. And I was waiting. If his decision was, it was never going to be Judkins and it was never going to be Kaleb Johnson. And it was not going to be Omarion Hampton. Like it wasn't going to be somebody that wasn't going to be really in the receiving game. And not that those guys can't do it, but it's not as fluid and not as easy and not as chess pieceable. It wasn't going to be one of those thick guys, but if it would have been, if he said that's my guy, that's fine. The guy that he chose is Harvey, and so if that's his guy, it's my guy. I'm just as simple as that.
Right.
Are
you saying because of his willingness to throw to the running back, or because of the running back's receiving game?
Well, both. I don't think he
didn't catch really anymore. Like he's a 20 a year catch guy.
But the catches he made, right. If you just watch the highlight tape like I did, I didn't go watch the lowlights. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't go watch the lowlights. But if you watch the highlights, you got the 20-second timeout. Go.
All right. So with RJ Harvey, with Kaleb Johnson, you had teams that struggled to throw fucking forward passes. Yeah. So we can't assume. If you go to the Senior Bowl, what I would encourage everybody to do is questioning whether or not RJ Harvey can catch passes or Kaleb Johnson. Like, go to the Senior Bowl with RJ Harvey. He was out there routing motherfuckers up, and he's a complete back. And he talked about it in some of the interviews. Hey, that wasn't what I was asked to do in the offense. Right. Yeah. Now, he did create the second most explosives behind only Ashton Jeanty last year. Yeah. So you have a guy in that offense. Like, everything that you said is beautiful. I just wanted to make sure that was a thing. Like, people are going to question. It's just like Kenneth Walker, Kenny Three Sticks. You question whether or not he could catch passes. He's a world-class fucking athlete, and he just hadn't been asked to do it.
Right.
So I think you hit the nail on the head, but I wanted to make sure everybody, like, because I had to do RJ Harvey for a different draft guide that I'm working on. So I watched a shit ton of RJ Harvey. And there's a wheel route on tape where he leaves a Colorado linebacker in the dust and scores a 70-yard touchdown. Like, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. At the Senior Bowl, he was chopping people up in the one-on-ones, and I think he can catch the ball. Otherwise, there's zero chance that Sean Payton spends day 2 capital on him.
Yeah. I guess what I was saying was that, like, Omarion Hampton is a good pass catcher.
Yeah. Omarion Hampton's an excellent.
All those other guys are good pass catchers. So, I just wanted to get –
being able
ask
to
that specific question, and like Kaleb Johnson is a good pass catcher. Like, go watch a couple of tapes on him on a couple of these passes that he caught, digging them out of the dirt and just
his best play is a play where he digs one out of the dirt against Nebraska, stabs it, and then stiff arms a dude into the upside down and scores a 65-70-yard touchdown.
Yeah. Being able to being a good pass catcher and being a good route runner are two different things. And like and RJ Harvey is out there on his. Again, I didn't go to all 22 in this guy. Let me see the highlights and let me see those couple plays that if you show it to me once, you can show it to me 10 more times. that Sean Payton is projecting on this guy and put his stamp on. So you could look at the highlight tape of RJ Harvey and see that him catching balls 15, 20 yards downfield and being fluid and doing what's going on. I'm not saying Omarion Hampton couldn't do that, but he obviously didn't even have a chance to draft him. Well, he did in the first round, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
right.
Like the ability for what, and to Casey's question, the willingness, Sean Payton's running backs.
Well, yeah,
they're top 2 in the league in running back passes. Passes thrown to running backs is going to be top 3 is a lock. Like if there's an over-under on that line every year, you just take the under. You take the bet that the running backs receive the most passes from the Broncos, from Sean Payton's guys. These were Saints. This was Pierre Thomas. This was Darren Sproles. And then Alvin Kamara came in there and put all that on steroids. And so like that, and then he comes over here and they had a lot of passes thrown to the running backs last year.
Yeah.
And so now you get RJ Harvey with round 2 draft capital. It's going to be early and often for my RJ Harvey picks.
Yeah, I mean, they caught, I think between the 3 running backs, Estime, McLaughlin, and Javonte Williams, they caught 81 passes last year.
I think Javonte caught 50 or something.
Yeah, 47. Yeah. So, yeah.
No,
this is I love that.
A part of the offense. What I like the Steelers could eat, Najee caught 1 million balls, but that's because they had a quarterback who was checking it down. Like it's still a possibility for other teams to have some of these other running backs to have high volume of pass catching. They just have to be willing for the quarterback to do so. Najee's a really good receiver, just didn't get used that way after Ben departed, right? That shit was crazy. So I don't want to completely overrate and underrate some of these other positions that these running backs can get from a pass catching perspective. Like we could have Aaron Rodgers come in there and throw 1 million balls to the running back with Arthur Smith this year.
I understand what you're saying. But I think if you ranked them and you had the odds like on DraftKings and this was minus this, plus a little bit, plus a lot. I like the idea. I think RJ Harvey should walk into the league next year in the stats projections category in passes thrown his way.
Yeah. Oh no.
And targets should be top 5 in running back targets
for sure.
I'd have to look at it. It might be top 7, but he's not going to be
He'll be inside the top 10 for sure.
Right.
For sure. So
no.
All right.
You were right, by the way, Casey. It was 52, not 47. 47 was the year before. 52 this year. 70 targets. So giving RJ Harvey that just makes me really, really happy. Go ahead and talk about your pick here, Casey.
Oh, I'm just going Kaleb Johnson here on the
I knew
pick.
I knew it.
We've already talked about it. It's a good landing spot. I think he's a great player. I like him in that situation, and it's pretty much all seems that they're got to be pretty confident that Aaron Rodgers is coming in there, which makes me like Kaleb Johnson, even a little bit more. I don't know if DK or if George Pickens will stay around if there's a trade, but I mean, you get those 2 guys on the outside, and you get a guy like Kaleb Johnson in there with Rodgers. I think and Arthur Smith. I think this could be a really, really awesome match made in heaven here. So I'm just taking Kaleb Johnson there at the 107.
Okay. Go ahead. Put me on the clock for Travis Hunter here.
Love it. Love it.
I thought for sure this was Judkins.
Love the Travis Hunter pick here.
Now we talked about one of my very first shows that I was on here, I said, hey, what if Travis Hunter was gonna be, we knew Travis Hunter was gonna get guaranteed snaps at receiver. Now Ellen, the GM, has come out and said he's gonna play receiver first. And so now I get my answer and I get the best receiver in the draft at 1.8 or 1.9. Where are we at? 1.9?
1.8.
1.8.
Love it.
Yeah. So I make no bones about it. I think he's the best receiver in the draft. I've said that time and time again. So being able to get him here because there's questions about how much offense he's going to play. Yeah. You got Ellen, the GM, coming out and saying, hey man, we're going to play him at receiver first and then make some packages on defense. Again, me and you have talked about, hey, I don't know whether or not this is going, how it works. And I don't know how it works. Last year they played the highest rate of cover 2 and man coverage. Those were their 2 highest coverages. So, I mean, I guess you could stick him out there and ask him to play like a cloud or something like that, or ask him to man up. But I don't really know. I don't know, but I'm not going to question it. All I know is I'm going to take him 101 in every single IDP league. And then I'm going to take him in the back half of the first round because now we know that they're going to play him primarily at receiver. And he's not going to get the lion's share of coverage because they have Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't mind it.
Yeah. I had to do that right there. Otherwise, I'd be being a hypocrite to what I actually believe.
No, honestly, I could go back and plug him into 1-3 and make the exact same argument you just did, and I'm happy with it. I have no problem as aggressive as you want to be with Travis Hunter, especially because he gets taken by the Jags, which, Liam Cohen. It's 2 years ago, I didn't know Liam Cohen's name, right? It was Dave Canales. And then Canales left, and I expected the Bucs to have the drop-off and the Panthers to have the big upswing. And it took a little while for the Panthers to have the upswing, but they started to have it last year. And the Bucs, if anything, somehow got a little bit better. So all of a sudden, Liam Cohen's a superstar. You give up what you give up to move up the spots to get him. And the beauty of it is that Casey and I were talking about it after it happened. It's like the beauty of it is like Cleveland doesn't have to deal, and that ended up being another problem with the Shedeur Sanders thing. But Cleveland didn't really have the infrastructure to handle the distraction of what you doing with Hunter, how you doing it with Hunter, who's doing what, like
quarterback,
exactly. Oh, yeah. And Travis Hunter doesn't have to deal with that either. Travis Hunter doesn't have to go deal with the Browns. This is fantastic for Travis Hunter. It's fantastic for the Jags because if anything, like the fact that Travis Hunter goes to a team with a wide receiver as good as Brian Thomas. Now they get to be together. I think it's awesome. So you're good. I mean, the best player in the draft, and you just got him at 1-8. That sounds like you cheated.
Yeah, yeah. Hunter is going to be a guy that I will probably have more of if my drafts are in August. I get to at least see practice, see how they're handling him, see where he is, how much truth there is to him being wide receiver first. A lot of people say a lot of shit, especially when you're in that moment and those are going on. But like that, once I can see it and we have an answer of like, all right, in practices, he's doing this, he's with this group, he's doing that, I'll feel a whole lot more confident to say, yeah, Travis Hunter should be at the top half of this draft for sure. Yeah. But at this point, I'm with it. All right. Who you got at 109?
All right. 1-9 on the clock. Just to know it's posted. I know it could be foolish for not taking a guy as good as Travis Hunter in the 1-6 spot where I took RJ Harvey. That's the game we play with running backs versus wide receivers in fantasy. All right. 1-9 on the clock. I'm looking at Judkins. I'm looking at Loveland. I'm looking at Tyler Warren. And really, that's probably about it right this second. The two tight ends and tight end premium are still sitting there with fantastic draft capital. And I could go Judkins here. I'm going to swing for the fences, and I'm going to take Colston Loveland. Tight end premium. Understanding. Okay. I'm at a 1-9 here. I lost. Let's say I'm at 1-9. I lost in the semifinals. I could have easily had the best team, and I lost could have had a bye week in the first round of the playoffs. Could have had the best team. Could have got beat by Casey's, coming up team in the semifinals, and I could have scored more than anybody in the final week. But if I would have been in the championship game, I would have won the championship, right, Chev? Yeah. I could have the best team in the league sitting here at 1-9. Doesn't have to be 112. Ain't always the best team.
It's just who got lucky in the playoffs.
Whose team performed the best for 2 weeks. And, so you could be in the semifinals and win that matchup and score less points than both other teams in the other semifinal matchup and then go win next week. And if you'd have been matched up against either of those other two teams, you would have been kicked out of the playoffs, but you didn't. So that's what you just got to get to the playoffs and let the luck shake its way out. I'm taking Colston Loveland, ridiculously good draft capital to a Ben Johnson. Now it's a Ben Johnson offense. It's a Ben Johnson team. He not only he did everything he did in Detroit as the OC under maybe the best leader in the NFL. So it's not like he was out there getting his way. My guy telling him, hey, you take the offense, you do what you got to do. Dan Campbell's the CEO, and Dan Campbell probably he played offense in the NFL. So it's not like he didn't have an idea of what he wanted to do anyway on offense. Man's got a highlight tape out there. Okay. Go watch Dan Campbell catch balls. My man caught first downs in the NFL, but now this is the team, right? He is the CEO, right? He goes and takes Loveland. Not even a need. Cole Kmet is good. Cole Kmet is a legit NFL tight end to get a legit freaking paycheck.
Yeah.
He got a second contract from the Bears because he was so good at being a legit NFL tight end. And then Loveland comes in and Ben Johnson goes, that's the guy. There was a lot of offensive talent on the board. There was a lot of defensive talent on the board. And he goes, that's the chess piece I want. Like you said, Chev, we had a little break there for a second. This is value. This is what we've been talking about for months and months and months. This is the show that we made months ago when there was a trade Rashee Rice for any random first comment. Like, and then give away your first now because the draft picks are going to suck. This is what we talk about. Colston Loveland, the draft capital he got with the offensive mind he's paired with. And it's not like he gets on a team that won't have that the defense can zero in. Sure. Right now, this second, there's a lot of mouths to feed over there. They bring in Luther Burden, which is a fantastic just value pick for them in the second round. It's hard to say that a team that had the 1-1 in the rookie draft, NFL draft last year to be able to take Kaleb Williams is now luxury picking in the second round. But they came in with a plan. They had a good enough, come to life young defense all of a sudden. They rebuilt that thing in 2 seasons 2 years ago, and they were able to take Luther Burden where they did. Yeah, they got mouths to feed, but I love the landing spot with Loveland with the offensive mind that knows how to use them, and that's what I'm going to hang my hat on.
Without question. I mean, so here's the thing. Somebody's got to be the odd man out, and, you read the tea leaves, you read the draft capital, you read what Ben Johnson just said in terms of, what they want out of their guys when they're not the primary read in the progression. And it just screams that he's not pleased with what he's seen from DJ Moore. And I'm not taking that lightly. I'm not taking the Colston Loveland draft capital lightly. I mean, we've seen, you just alluded to what Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson were able to partner together and put together for a guy like Sam LaPorta. Now, the targets kind of took a dip, but he was still incredible from a production standpoint and touchdown wise. So, I mean, he's shown you 2 years in a row where he was awesome at, red zone efficiency and catching touchdowns. And him and Jonnu were the only 2 tight ends to line up outside, like as an X on the line of scrimmage wide receiver more than 20% of the time. So you got to think that that's kind of in the cards for Colston Loveland as well.
Great stat.
So I think that, I mean, I personally like Tyler Warren more, but with him going to an offensive mind that's capable of what we know Ben Johnson is capable of, there's no way that you can just stare at that value and then say, nah, man, I'll pass because of the track record that he comes with. If you're buying Liam Cohen, you're buying what that offense is. Why would you not be buying Ben Johnson and what you've seen him do for multiple years in a row now? And he handpicked this job. I'm assuming that he handpicked this tight end. So why would you not be all in on that?
Yeah. I think it knocks the value down. Like, even, Burden goes there. We'll see if DJ Moore gets traded or something like that. But like, if it was less mouths to feed, Loveland and Warren's situation was, we knew that there was for sure a quarterback who could facilitate. Like, Loveland walks into a situation with Kaleb Williams. Now, regardless of what you think about Kaleb Williams, like, he's way more far along than Anthony Richardson is as far as, facilitating multiple guys. So we don't even know if Warren is in a situation where he's got a quarterback, then you're not, both of those guys could have easily been going 1-4, 1-5 if the situations weren't what they were right now at this particular juncture for where they're starting their careers off at, right? There's a but with both of them.
Not even that, man.
But I mean, you're getting good. You're getting good.
Look at the guys that are drafted in front.
Well, that's
of
what I'm saying.
If
these guys had the situations that some of these other guys are looking at and would have gotten a better situation, like the situation that I think both guys, these tight ends, are in, can be awesome. Where there's not a whole lot of buts with all the other guys we drafted in front of them, outside of maybe Travis Hunter, who's a once in a lifetime guy who, just because he's fucking so good at 2 positions. Whereas Loveland's situation is awesome, but it's like there's a lot to be determined on who gets what when. Still warranted a good player, a good pick, and for all the things that you guys just said. And Warren, I personally like Warren more as well. We just don't know if he can be relied on to how many targets, and like Anthony Richardson is. And some people are just like, Daniel Jones is going to start this year. And it's like, even if Daniel Jones starts this year, it's still like that's not like I'm not like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Like I'm super excited for that.
Question to y'all boys here. What would have been the optimal landing spot? Like the Rams, right?
For Loveland?
I think the immediate one is the Chargers, right?
Well, yeah, the Chargers, the Rams, right? Like,
I mean, either one of those gets traded, like a trade back to San Fran.
If you wanted to lose your mind, the Chiefs trade up.
Sure.
If you want to say what's the best landing spot we could have ever come up with, the Chiefs made some outrageous ballsy trade up and said, hey, we got our next Travis Kelce. We're not making it. It's no questions about it. We're not trying to hide it. We're not playing X's and O's here. We gave away a first round pick next year to come up in the middle of the first round to get this guy, kind of thing. Like that would have been the nut.
So now we trade that. We sacrifice that for top 10 draft capital.
Right.
Like we got to be, I mean, we
with
have
Ben
to
Johnson.
be with Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to do some soul searching because I mean, I firmly had Tyler Warren ahead of Colston Loveland. And, you know, over the course of these last 72 hours or whatever, I've just been thinking about it. And then like, listen to what Ben Johnson, there's no way they drafted this dude to just let him sit. Well, there's no way they drafted this dude just to be, you know, a part of the offense. I think that he thinks that he's going to be a vital cog in this offense to make it, you know, to be an easy button. Because I mean, we all agree that he's a great receiving tight end.
Yes.
Yeah. Without question. You know, they talk about, you know, you've got the Gronk style of tight end, you got the Travis Kelce style of tight end. He's the Travis Kelce style of tight end. Now, does he have that production? Does he hit the 0.01% that turns into Travis Kelce? Probably not. But could he duplicate? Could he give you in the next 2 years, give you what Sam Laporta gave you in 2023? Like, do we think that that's outrageous?
No. Well, and Sam Laporta really didn't give you anything outrageous, but he ran hot with the touchdowns.
Right. But you also hadn't had Jameson Williams emerge in that offense. There wasn't one guy really, you know, you had St. Brown and that was kind of it. And then, but now then what here you have Rome, Burden and DJ Moore. So it is a little bit like you can have the top 10 capital and the situation can be off, but to just facilitate week in, week out, I think it's going to be awesome for the Bears and awesome for Kaleb Williams and all and that's why he's taking them, because he is obviously a big part of the plan of what they want to do, but it's just going to make everybody's life on that offense a whole lot easier. So you're probably just going to have to deal with some up and down games here and there that are just, you know,
in a perfect world, he starts out slow so you can buy him again in mid-season. But see, 100%. So right this second, the most important thing that Ben Johnson's got to do is make easy buttons for Kaleb Williams right now to right the ship, which he didn't have a horrible, you know, things looked really good for Kaleb Williams when they made the coaching change. Mm-hmm. And we said it, and then I heard it on another podcast later. Like whenever Thomas Brown got the head coaching job, it went back down because he couldn't stay in the lab.
Ran an actual system that kind of.
I don't know how you even go that much of the off and on switch. And maybe if you really went back and looked at the weeks and it lined up with the whole miracle with the Washington Hail Mary thing, and it all kind of fell apart from there. But like the most important thing that Ben Johnson has to do right now is make sure that Kaleb Williams gets on the right track. So, and Colston Loveland, his brand new first round pick, top 10 draft capital, 6'5", 250-pound man that was good enough to be able to do some inline blocking for Jim Harbaugh in college, and has the downfield receiving prowess. When it all shakes out, maybe DJ Moore's gone, maybe Rome's gone, maybe Luther doesn't keep his head on straight because he don't get any targets first week. I don't know what's going to happen, but when it all shakes out, Colston Loveland's going to be standing there as a tight end in this offense that we assume and probably could bet money on is going to improve.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know which wide receivers. I think Rome is going to be just fine, but he hasn't emerged yet like Jameson Williams hasn't either. DJ Moore's an obviously really, really good NFL wide receiver, but we've also seen Ben Johnson say, I don't want DeAndre Swift on my team, you know, and DeAndre Swift in right spots has been good, and he made plays for Ben Johnson in Detroit.
They didn't even target another running back.
They may have been, it just didn't fall. You know, they may have taken, you know, Treveyon Henderson in the second round if they had a.
I think that was 100% the play before the Patriots did what they did.
You know, so I think I think Loveland is too far down this draft board. I think there's plenty of people out there. They're like, there's no chance I'm taking Loveland, Johnson, and Harvey over a top 10 tight end. There's a lot of ways to do this, and this is what I said the other day. The first round can't hold them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The first round can't hold them, and all your worthless ass second round picks are right back up there. And so that's all. If you wanted to tune out a couple times ago to Casey, we're not the show that's going to hit it with chalk and keep it moving.
We'll also have plenty more rookie drafts that go fast, and we get through 3 rounds in 40 minutes, which again, shouldn't even really make all that much sense. But this is all new information. This is what we got to do. We got to go through here and
we got to bat it back and forth.
Get these thought processes out there. And that's what I was saying. This could be completely different next week, because we did a whole bunch of, like you said, you had to do some soul searching. We got to have these conversations to figure out where you fall on these, because your first thing might not be the right thing.
Yeah, I asked Chev for advice for my 6th pick. My pick 1-6. I needed advice. I knew I was going Harvey all the way, but I wanted to see what he had to say.
All right, I think I'm up next, so I'm gonna just take Judkins, even though I really want to take Tyler Warren there because I love him so much. I'm gonna just take Judkins.
Give me.
I think these are pretty interchangeable. Whichever one I went, you were going the other way.
Yeah, give me Tyler Warren.
Yeah. All right, so Tyler Warren, Colts quarterback situation is what we're concerned about.
It's not exciting because of the fact that we don't have any sort of clarity who's the signal caller, who's running the show, and that kind of sucks. But again, 2026 we could be looking at something totally different. I mean, Todd Gurley looked like a regular running back, and then he gets with Sean McVay and goes immediately back to his Hall of Fame trajectory before his knees quit on him. Yeah. So you're one coaching change, you're one quarterback, one personnel change away from this being, him being a top 5 tight end, just like we just talked about for, 10 minutes of Colston Loveland. Yeah. So I love the value here. I mean, I'm in a rookie mock right now where Colston Loveland went 1-3 and Tyler Warren went 1-5. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, it's also a full point tight end premium.
Yeah.
So
that's what they need to be. Like I said that after maybe at the 1-2 pick or 1-3, I was like, if you got 3 wide receivers, you lean a little heavier wide receiver right here. If you got bigger tight end premium, the tight ends are up here. Like we got options in the first round. You're not hamstrung in any position, except for in Superflex. If you need Cam Ward, you better get him, because then you're. Well, I mean, Jackson Dart did get first round capital, but Sanders is obviously out of play for a while. So we lost a quarterback.
Yeah. With Warren, it seems like there's been like 3 generations of coaching staffs that's been searching for a tight end over there in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They got one. Whether he'll be a superstar year 1 because of how the offense functions, TBD. But we're also, there's also nobody really taken into account of like, what if Anthony Richardson is working his ass off right now and does improve and takes the next step forward? Really, we just need him to hit the layups. Mm-hmm. If he hits the layups, this offense felt like they were in a whole bunch of games, and he was not functioning at a high level throughout the entirety of a game. If he can just hit the layups, which Warren can provide a few more layups for him, right?
Yeah.
We could see a whole different Anthony Richardson this year, and it could be a huge revival to everything on that team and on that staff. Now, will that happen? I don't know, but it seems like nobody's even putting that out there as an option of like, yeah, this guy who would play for a few series absolutely out of his mind, and then a few series of absolutely out of his mind in the other direction.
Yeah.
So the parts and pieces are there. I think if he puts in the work, I think we could see something completely different from Richardson here, just hitting the fucking layups, and keeping that team on the field.
We just need him to keep the car on the road when it, when it starts raining out. Now we know he can hit the Autobahn and make it go 140, but also we know that, if anything gets adverse, he could just melt, or you know what I'm saying? So
we've seen game-winning drives from him.
Cruise control, baby. Yeah. Put it on 85 and just mind your business. Right. We don't need you to be Superman until you get into the low red zone.
Yeah.
Like, inside the 5, just run people over to your heart's content. Just don't concuss yourself. Yeah. I love that point, that if he could just take the layups, which we know Shane Steichen's offense has those built in, because we watched Jalen Hurts, function in that manner with Shane Steichen. So yeah, I think, I'm hoping that this is them giving him a giant weapon that's a more mobile Mo Alley Cox or Jelani Woods or whatever. Like he's in a different stratosphere athletically than those guys. That makes life easier for him. So you've got a giant receiver in Pittman, got a giant tight end. You got Josh Downs who's jitterbugging and getting open all over the field. Like, we're just if it works, it works. If not, we'll put Daniel Jones in and we'll just set it to 30 and just ride this thing on out.
Yeah.
And they'll get the rest of their coaching contracts while they're looking for employment.
Right. No, I mean, and I think Tyler Warren gives you just even a bigger boost in that run game with JT, and just gives you an attitude in there and can get up that seam and give you some crazy stuff. So we'll go back to Judkins real quick because we kind of glossed right over it.
Well, I mean, I said a bunch, and then he took RJ Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to go back for him for a second. Now, like at first, obviously he got the capital and went to the Browns, and then they added another running back a little later who we all like, right? We all like the second RB in the rotation there.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel any type of way about Judkins and just how the Browns they're going to continue to operate like Hunt and Chubb at times? Is that
well? No, you got to have more than one running back to play real football,
okay.
and Jerome Ford's on his way out.
Yeah.
So I think the rotation most likely is going to be, Judkins and Ford, with Judkins slowly inching his way forward, and then we'll mix in some Dylan Sampson.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Actually, we knew that there was too many running backs for we knew there was going to be a team or three that would take two of them, and it's a really, really good pick for the Browns, especially if you think about it now, hindsight. The last two seasons, there's so many. Nick Chubb goes down. Jerome Ford was out there by himself for like a third of the season. They had to go hunting for backups, So like, great for the Browns as an organization to say, hey, we got a talent that's falling down the board here, probably but just because of the depth of the position to get Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson was talked about like he could have been the guy. He could have been RJ Harvey. He could have been this guy. He could have been that guy,
sure.
And Scatabo goes into early fourth, and whoever else was up, there was a couple guys right there in the early fourth. And the only reason they didn't go into third is because there was 6 more running backs. So teams like, yeah, we'll get one next round. We talked about that a couple weeks ago because like, all right, well, there's so many running backs. All of these third round capital running backs, they're not all going in the third round because there's enough of them. The teams will take a different position and get one next round. The good for the Browns for taking Dylan Sampson where they did. Great pick, solid player potentially, home run threat. They need those too. It's just the Browns. We don't know what they're doing at quarterback. We don't know what's happening over there. Not sure that I love the trade back to get the first round pick next year. I don't think they were equipped or needed they didn't need the potential like Travis Hunter problem. And I don't want to call it a problem. It's just Travis Hunter's bigger than the Browns. And I applaud them for taking an extra first next year and just backing on up a couple picks, whatever, put a good defensive tackle on the line with Myles Garrett, yada, yada, yada. Solid, whatever. I'm in the camp that they should have just kept trading back. At that pick, they could have just kept on trading back and throw more assets at the draft picks for later. I don't know why there's not another team out there that didn't play in a little bit more Dynasty Fantasy Football. Like, let's just trade back a couple times and get a whole bunch of picks and then move around. So anyway, I love the Judkins landing spot for him. It's just the fact that I love the idea that the Stefanski offense gets one more try, and let's do what we're going to do. And it's just they're in a division with teams that can score 35 points, and they're just if he can get into a check down role with Flacco or whoever the quarterback is, fantastic. It's just Judkins is good enough to give you 17 carries for 92 yards, and they're getting their butt beat. So now you got 9.2, and hopefully you got a couple catches. And if you're playing in any PPR formats, it's just like the Browns, Stefanski's so good they didn't bottom out. They did look a couple games last year. They bottomed out because they had such a good defense the year before in 2023. There was hope, and then you just can't get up every week. And when you were supposed to be pretty good and Deshaun Watson wheels fall off again, yada, yada, yada. I love Judkins at 110 is ridiculously good value, and if you can get that, you get it. And Tyler Warren, fantastic.
All right, last pick of the round. It's your pick. Did you want to go something else there, Shiv?
No.
Okay. Last pick of the draft. We got a log jam here, right? We got the other quarterback that went in the first round, right?
Yep.
We got Jackson Dart. He's got to be in the mix, right?
Yep.
We got to have
Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins,
Trey Harris in the mix
Ibuka.
for you. Okay, I like it. Ibuka, Luther Burden.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm about to make this pick, I'm gonna make the pick's gonna be Jackson Dart. It's super flex, quarterback with Russian potential. The play caller, head coach that finally gets to pick his guy. Jackson Dart comes into a Giants. He's got Malik Neighbors to throw to, a couple of decent young tight ends. Tyrone Tracy can catch, Scott Abo can catch. He's got a good solid running back room to fall back on, lean back on. What can Dayball do with his guy? He finally gets his guy, makes the trade up to get back in the first round to go get him. I'm taking Jackson Dart, super flex. If this is one quarterback league, I'm taking all those. I'm taking Trey Harris. I'm taking Higgins. I'm taking Ibuka. Taking Luther Burden. Taking Matthew Golden. Taking Cam Scottaboo. I'm taking a bunch of guys over Jackson Dart in one quarterback. One quarterback, Jackson Dart's way back there, right? It is
one quarterback. He gets pushed way. It's not even a question.
So if you're a one quarterback person and you've been listening, you got all this good talk after Cam Ward to spend 10 players. You got Jackson Dart here. You can just remove him and go on to the next round in the next video. But I'm taking Jackson Dart, super flex. It's hard enough to get a quarterback. He has a rushing upside. He has rushing floor potentially, and he has rushing upside. And then if it can hit, he drove the ball downfield. I understand the Ole Miss stuff, and I didn't watch a lot of games, and I'm not going to ever tell you that I've watched a lot of tape. But I listen to a lot of different people, and if a couple different people's opinions line up, then I'm like, all right, these smart guys have the same opinion here. And then you'd pick apart the outliers. This person hates him, and this person loves him, and what, where, and why, and how does this really line up? Jackson Dart threw the ball downfield a lot of times. Was Lane Kiffin able to create some easy throws and some layups in that offense? Fantastic. Yes, he was. Chip Kelly did the same thing for Ohio State. But Jackson Dart he was making big time throws, often down the field at least. And Todd McShay has said
and a good rushing floor. His
thing is that when the pocket fell apart, that Jackson Dart was going forward, which leads to more quarterback scrambles. Will they call quarterback runs early and often to get him going? I don't know. We hope so for fantasy, but when there's pressure, Cam Ward can go laterally, keep the play alive, use his eyes, and be patient and make a play. When there's pressure, Jackson Dart's running forward. And in fantasy, that helps a lot. So, and potentially for your team, it might not be the big splash play that Cam Ward could create with his arm, but if Jackson Dart runs forward and catches some yards and catches a first down, that's huge for the team. Steve Young goes on the radio all the time talking about how many free yards there are for rushing quarterbacks to go get. And that's why we want Kyler to run more. Let's open it up. Go get you a couple extra first downs. Kyler was a baseball player. He can slide. Jackson Dart needs to learn how to slide. But I like his rushing floor. I like his rushing upside. And in Superflex, I make him over the wide receivers that I like. There's a handful of wide receivers that I really like here. And I could get back into there's plenty of running backs that I could like to see for depth. But I believe before we dip our hand back in the running back pool, we got to take a handful of wide receivers first.
Chev, what's your closing thoughts here on this 112? I mean, you agree with Dart, it seems like, but give me other guys in the mix. And who would be the next receiver or whomever?
Oh, it's easily the next receiver here is going to be Luther Burden. I mean, so if we're talking skill positions, you're talking Luther Burden, you're talking Emeka Ibuka, or excuse me, you're talking Luther Burden, you're talking Matthew Golden, and then maybe space Emeka Ibuka and Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins in that next tier. I fully expect Jaden Higgins to climb more and more. Like I said, I'm in a rookie draft right now. Jaden Higgins just went at the 2.7. He's been, at our ADP, he's been around 2.9, 2.10 throughout the whole process. So I think that's a guy that's going to climb quite a bit. I think people are going to start to get real warm on Trey Harris. I mean, Emeka Ibuka going 19. You just can't see. You can see the draft capital, but you can't see the path to year one production, which I think clouds it a little bit. But Emeka Ibuka is still firmly in play. in the back half of that first round. I just took Jackson Dart at the 2-2 of that same draft that I was referencing. So he falls down. Those guys are gonna fall down the board quite a bit. I mean, we did some things. I mean, RJ Harvey getting that draft capital, like, get your guy. We know what that role represents. So, like, let's not stand on ceremony about process or whatever, or he's older. I don't care. He's a Sean Payton running back in a vacuum of opportunity. So, like, let's not be stupid here. Kaleb Johnson is, a bona fide hammer. He's replacing Najee Harris, who just had, all the work, in Pittsburgh. I mean, Jaylen Warren was battling injuries or whatever you want to say, and now he's on a restricted free agent tender. But I think that Kaleb Johnson immediately steps in, and he's going to get at least 60% of the work. So I could see why he went in the first round. But again, it's pushing value down the board. I loved Ibuka throughout the process. You love Luther Burden, throughout the process. So it's hard for me to say, you made the wrong pick by taking a first round quarterback in a super flex. Right. But there again, with that draft capital, it just pushes more value down the board to us. So again, Luther Burden, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden gets a first round draft capital. Absolutely love.
He's the one I don't know what to do with.
Yeah, he's the one that makes it. Now, I don't think it's easily Luther Burden. This time next year,
I backtracked on that.
Okay,
I did backtrack on that.
All right,
and I was saying Luther Burden, Trey Harris, Matthew Golden, kind of in that same, like, are in a tier together. And now I backed Emeka Ibuka down because of the fact that we can't see, even though the draft capital is there, he's got the best draft capital. All these guys, there's no path for him to have immediate production, in my opinion.
Which is where patience comes into play. And Casey's been great at that over the years. Like, I think Ibuka stays up here, and I think in a organization that hadn't taken a wide receiver in the first round in 20 years, maybe that was because Aaron Rodgers was so good and he made up for it. Maybe it's because they just nailed Devontae Adams, and for 10 years they had one.
Yeah,
they
nailed receivers for
right.
a minute. Jordy Nelson and
exactly. Yeah. So Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, they didn't have to draft one in the first round, but they have been stumbling around and looking for one. And so does Matthew Golden have the least impressive production profile of any first round receiver? Sure. But the Packers, with I think a really good quarterback and a really good top tier offensive minded head coach that can call up plays and scheme it up, and a fantastic running back that's going to punish the defense, and a really good set of tight ends with Tucker Kraft leading the way, in my opinion. Like, Matthew Golden is going to step in here, and maybe week one he doesn't draw 10 targets. But they picked him in the first round, and Sky Moore, anybody? Those kind of guys, like, yeah. I let landing spot hurt me a time or two because I was chasing this and I was chasing that, and like, first round wide receivers has not necessarily been pushed up my board over other opportunities and other positions, and draft capital, landing spot has hurt me a time or two. Landing spots really hit home runs for me a time or two. I drafted a lot of Alvin Kamara for the exact same reasons I talked about RJ Harvey. But like, I think that Matthew Golden is a really good pick, really good value at the end of the first round, early beginning of the second round. And Ibuka's a beast, and I think it's a great pick by the Bucs. Like, yeah, the Bucs don't play fantasy football. Does it mean that there's something wrong with Chris Godwin? I don't know. But if Mike Evans got hurt last year, he was out, and things didn't. Godwin went out, and Mike Evans was a little nicked up here and there, and then so like they got options now, and it's like keep it all in front of Baker, right? Baker got 40 touchdowns last year. Is that a real statement? Do I really have to say that out loud? And so good for the Bucs. And so Luther Burden, he could be an absolute stud, and he may end up being one of the biggest chess pieces for Ben Johnson. And maybe they wanted a running back in that position because they could have drafted a good running back in that position. But maybe they were like, well, Luther Burden's here, and we're going to just take our shot and see if he's our joker.
Kind of a little bit more like a St. Brown type role with him. seemingly. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this show up here, and then
We should.
Tomorrow night is Monday night when this is probably coming out. We usually go live. Maybe we could go live and finish this thing up. I don't know if you're available, Chev, or not, but maybe we could do the rest of this, go live and have some more conversation. Because to me, I know some of y'all are probably like, why is this taking so long? It was an hour and 20 minutes. You guys only did a first round. Yeah, man, that's what this is about. It's about talking about this. Giving you a 1 minute per piece of 4 rounds of a guy does not help you at all. You're just trying to confirm biases.
Right.
That's all you're trying to do there. So what we're trying to do is talk about this, question things, see what we like, see what we don't like. This is all brand new information, man. We got to have conversations to figure this out. And so that's kind of what this was. I didn't know where we would make it to, which is why not having it all picked out kind of lended to longer conversation, but I wanted a longer conversation on this. So come join us on the live. This live we'll hit the rest of this rookie mock, and then on the next live we'll be back to doing startups, because that's going to be the next piece of this puzzle, is figuring out how this affected some veteran and rookie stuff in startups.
Yeah, you got to talk about the football part. You don't if you don't have time to do all the work, and you don't have time to do this, and you don't have time and if you're a first or second year Dynasty player, you need to be listening to this. You should probably listen to it twice, because you can hear our mistakes and successes as we talk.
Process.
Process. Yeah. The process the process for a young Dynasty player is not to pick one process. That's the process right now for one young Dynasty player, is not to listen to ABC podcast and
shout out Kyle Williams
and pick that, right? Shout out Kyle Williams. Yeah.
Shout out Chase Brown, baby.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast the other day because I was fiending for anything that wasn't a mock draft and a guess about. I cannot stand that last week before the NFL draft of all the, well, what if this and this and this happens? I got way too much going on to talk about the maybes and prognostications of the entire NFL. Like we could prognosticate one situation, but I don't want to hear about a 5-round draft, a mock draft, right? It that close when we're about to get it. I want to hear about it in March for sure, because I'm still 50 days away. But that I'm listening to one, and it's not my cup of tea, but I give them the whole first round to see where we're going. And it's just literally based on the nerds part of it. And I'll enjoy the nerds part of it, but way more the NFL part of it. And there's a happy medium in there to find it, and it should be weighted. But if you're on just the nerds part of it, you're going to be it didn't look anything like this, and you're going to be in trouble. And if you're all football and you don't care about anything, that's fine. You might not even be, if you're not really, really into Dynasty Fantasy Football, you're not going to listen to this, and you're definitely not going to get an hour into it. Just saying. This is for everybody. There's really rabbit hole stuff here. And if you're for the guy that needs a 10-minute list, this is why you need to listen to this, because you need more than a 10-minute list to win championships.
Yeah.
If you're listening,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. If you're listening right now, you're a fucking sicko just like us. So
just like us.
Yeah.
Listen, tell us where we're wrong. I'll be lurking in the comments. You tell me I'm a dickhead for saying it. I would take, I still don't. I'm not a huge believer in the landing spot in Emeka Egbuka, even though he was my wide receiver 2 in the class. Like, yeah, all that shit.
Here's the thing: gobble him up in the second rounds and put him on your bench. He's a really, really, really good player with a great head on his shoulders, and you're not messing it up. If you take Egbuka a little bit too early and you just put him on your bench, you have a quality NFL football player already, and let the upside fall as it may. You're not messing it up. There's plenty of reasons why he's not off the board yet, but he could be next. Maybe he's 2 or 3 picks down the road. And if you're lucky, you get him at 2-6 in a couple of your rookie drafts, and you just put it in the bank, Bo. Put it in the bank.
Yeah. Super excited.
Deposit.
Right. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Finish this thing up. Appreciate you guys. You can check him out on Twitter at Chev90. You can find all the stuff over there. Is that right?
That is correct. I have a link tree now, so you can find all the stuff. Just click the link tree. All links to everything that's going on.
And FF Dynasty on Twitter. And we got all sorts of stuff. We're going to have a big rankings update on the Patreon side of things here this week. And if you're a $5 holler guy, you can get all that. And we got little draft kit situation coming out here real soon for your pleasure. You've been seeing some of the player pages if you've been watching the last couple days, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. The best way to do that is, sub. Keep it locked and loaded. Until next time, peace.